Peoria, what's good, man? It's Mark Supreme. I am your host for RapPolitics on Peoria Journal Star, and I'm about to just jump it off with. Make sure y'all subscribe to the Peoria Journal Star. Go to the Facebook page and like that Facebook page. And you already know we are brought to you by Sherman's, where they carry the best in furniture, mattresses, and appliances, and they're also hiring. Sherman's is one of the few places left in town that doesn't care about your education. They just promote people that work hard, have a good attitude, and follow their core values. One of the few places that hard work gets recognized and gets you ahead. You can log on to shermanscareers.com to check out the openings and apply online. And we're also brought to you by Terry Shepard, a real estate consultant whose values are rooted in customer care and service. She can help you negotiate your next deal and get you into a home that fits. She's with Remax Traders Unlimited, and she can be reached at 309-361-4592. I appreciate y'all tuning in. We got two guests today, one that is going to bring the funnies and another one that's going to give us the update on COVID. And I'm going to cut to the chase. We got Peoria's own St. Louis transplant, but we still rock with him a little bit that he dipped. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. And we got Jason Jenkins. What's good?
What's up, baby? This long overdue right here.
Hey, it's been a minute. We supposed to do some stuff, man.
I feel like I'm somebody right now that I'm on here.
Hey, man, I feel like I'm somebody that you came, man. You had, like, it'd be one of them situations where, hey, he showed up. Like, he came.
Right. Oh, no.
No, he actually coming. Yeah. He actually coming. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Man, I'm good, man. I appreciate the love, man. I'm good. Got a show coming up here in a few minutes. So, you know, brother got the little butterflies jumping off, but I'm straight. Might got to doodle a little bit, but I'm good.
Oh, good. So I didn't know you had 3 shows in a row. So you got the one tonight, and then you also headlining the Jukebox this weekend. Major information, major move. Talk about how all that came together.
Man, look, so Dan has always showed Jukebox. They've always shown me love ever since I started comedy in 2014, man. I won the competition back in 2017, so he's always remained in touch. And I came in town a couple weeks ago and just kind of stopped through and got on stage a little bit and, you know, did what I'm supposed to do. And then he's like, hey, what's your next few weeks looking like? And then, boom, here we are. Finally get the headline at a comedy club. 7 years in. Finally here. Yeah, so dope feeling, Mark.
Talk about that grind and talk about just the pursuit of something like that. Because 7 years, and I'm a big fan of Nipsey Hussle. I'm sure you, to a degree, was a fan too. And he talked about the marathon and the difference between people that succeed and the people that don't, just staying long enough to get to the finish line and not quitting. 7 years in, somebody might have quit at 4. Like, man, I can't even get on a jukebox in my own city. Like, talk about that persistence and what it took to get to the point where you headlining 2 nights in a row in the same stage that some legit people done been in.
Man, legends done touched that stage. Dog, I done quit at least 2, 3, 4 times. In my mind, I'm like, dog, this is too much. Like, you know, especially with comedy clubs, it's the politics, like how many followers he got. You know what I'm saying? Everything is transferring over to the social media stage. And as an old guy, I was stubborn. Like, man, I'm not doing videos. I can show people I'm funny on stage, but it's been a grind, man. I hit a couple rough patches. It's been times where it's like, man, how come I ain't there yet? Like, dog, I done did some nice things, but it's also very humbling, man. And it's the best decision I ever made, dog. Like, this grind is like tough. Comedy is not easy. It's not like music where you can get up there. Like, if you catch somebody with the beat, you almost got them. Like, oh, okay, the beat got me. As a comedian, boy, you better say something funny real quick, or they finna be having cafeteria conversations. Like, what we doing after this? Like, because this ain't it. So but shouts out to Peoria. I love Peoria for making me who I am. But as far as comedy, like doing it in rooms like Jesse Taylor room, like the rooms where it's just 2,000 black folks looking at you like, all right, you better be funny. And if you ain't, they'll definitely boo you. And me being a competitor, like, no, I'm not finna hear no boos. Like, so that just helped make me tough. Like I don't mind doing shows in front of 5 people. It don't even matter. We still finna I done been in tough rooms.
What's the
So
toughest situation you've been in? Has it ever been a situation where like your time just started, you might be 2 minutes in and you looking for the exit?
dog, when I did and this is the first time I quit, like dog, I don't want to see the stage again. Like
How long ago was this? How long ago was this?
So I want to say it was 4 years ago.
Okay.
So we did the Kevin Hart Heart of the City auditions. So
Okay.
this like you auditioning to get on. If you heard, I'm pretty sure a lot of people heard of Heart of the City. You auditioning to get on there. You got 5 minutes. Put your best. And at the time, I was still one of the nicer comedians in St. Louis. So it's packed, Mark. You know what I'm saying? It's packed. I go up there. 2 minutes in, you hear somebody, "Hey, you better do your jokes." You like, dog, my time ain't up yet. Like, dog, let me out of here. And it was just like embarrassing. And I was disappointed in myself, dog. It was the worst. I ain't want to talk to nobody afterwards. I ain't touched the stage again for 3 months, dog. Like, I did not, like, it had my heart, dog. I was like, I never want to feel that again. Like, nobody laughed.
Nobody laughed the whole set?
Dog, it wasn't the laughs you gonna count. Like, them don't count. They just threw me these real quick. Them don't really. Yeah, bro. It was like the comedians afterwards was like, "Jay, you good? Like, what was wrong with you?" Like, dog, it was, man, it was terrible to me.
Now, most importantly, what got you back on the stage?
This is just something I love to do, man. Like, it's just something about being on that stage, man. I just love to make people laugh. It's just addictive. And then like getting jealous of other people, like seeing them do stuff like, "Oh, I'm funnier than them. Let me get back out here." And yeah, just really wanting to be good at it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is something like I really love doing. Like, some people think it's just a hobby to me. Like, nah, no, sir. Like, this is something I'm really trying to make it at.
So I really want to ask you this, because you mentioned both of these things just now. You really want to make it, and you called yourself the old guy, which old is relative, especially when you're talking about nowadays where people start new things at 60 years old. Man. But you talk about it on Facebook and things like that. You're over 40. You've been chasing the dream 7 years, and you've seen some positive things happen, like what's going to happen this weekend.
Yes, sir.
At what stage, or is there any stage where you feel like, man, look, like some years that went by, I'm too old to be chasing a dream?
Nah, what keeps me, like, if you could just look back at Bernie Mac's story. Like, Bernie got started late, dog, and he is one of the greatest to ever touch the stage. So you listen to different stories and stuff like that, just motivates me right there. Like, he got started late, and being that I haven't technically made it yet, I just feel like I ain't ready for it yet. So I'm gonna just keep on working, you know what I'm saying, and get where I'm supposed to be.
And what's that supposed to be? What's the ultimate goal for you?
Man, I don't really know if I want the Kevin Hart stage. That's just too much attention. Some stuff I don't need y'all to know. Okay. Y'all don't really need to know I was sleeping in this hotel room at 2:30 in the morning. That ain't none of y'all business. But I do want to make it, I just want to be known. I just want people to know who I am. Like, all right, dude was nice on the stage. Like, when I hear Jason Jenkins' name, I hear a dude like, yeah, he was nice. And he brought it every time he touched the stage. I don't really necessarily know if I want the top dog stage. I don't know if I'm ready for that.
Okay. And before we head out, let me ask you real quick, favorite comedian who inspires you the most?
Martin. That's where, you know what I'm saying, I saw, like, seeing him on Def Comedy Jam coming up as a teenager, like, damn, this dude cold right here. But now seeing Dave Chappelle and seeing what he does on the stage and just how comfortable he is and fearless, that right there is the stage I want to be at right there. Just unafraid.
And let me ask you this too. why do you feel like, I was talking to somebody else about this, both comedians you just mentioned, as well as a host of other ones, would say, oh, who to go? Oh, Richard. Why do we not give Richard Pryor his just due in Peoria? What do you think that is?
I think Richard is one of the greatest to ever do it. You got I don't want to get too vocal with it, but you got some people that don't agree with some of the stuff he did. But being from Peoria, I tell people all the time, like, them the footsteps I'm trying to follow right there. Like, he made it out of this town, except for the cocaine. But everything else, like, you know what I'm saying? I don't want that. But making it out of Peoria, man, and just really representing your city, and people really respect your name, like know who Richard is. I definitely got respect for him, but I can't lie and say like that's one of the people that I watched the most growing up. I watched Eddie more than I watched Richard.
Yeah.
But I still respect what Richard did for the game and respect what he was on the stage. It's a lot of people that inspire me, man. Really.
Well, shout out the shows one more time, the dates and the times.
August 20th and 21st, that's tomorrow, Friday and Saturday. Both shows start at 8 p.m. We at Jukebox Comedy Club. You can hit up jukeboxcomedy.com for tickets. It's only $15. Only a little change, little pocket change. Yeah, ain't really nothing. But come on out, man. It's gonna be a fantastic night. I guarantee it. I really just want the respect of my city. That's the one thing that drives me right there. Just the respect. I don't want people like, oh, that's just Jason. I went to school with him. Nah, I want people like, man, Jay made it out this mug and he repping Peoria. So I'm just really looking forward to 2 great shows. I appreciate you having me on, man. This is mean a lot to me.
Oh, it's nothing, bro. It's nothing. I appreciate you coming on, man. This Friday and Saturday, Jukebox Comedy Club, 8 o'clock. And like Jason said, man, it's only $15. It's only $15. Appreciate you coming on, man. The little chain. Hey, appreciate you coming on, man. Salute. Keep climbing.
Yes, sir.
That was Jason Jenkins, homegrown, man, straight from the town. And right now we got somebody equally important right now coming on. We have Public Health Administrator for Peoria County, Monica Hendrickson. Monica, what's happening?
Hello, how are you?
Hey, this is our second time around.
Yes, it is.
Second time around. Okay, bringing in the information. So I'm gonna get straight to it. What's going on right now? We hear about the Delta, not the airlines. We hear about the Phi Beta Lambda variant. What's going on right now?
So what we're seeing in our community is that the virus that we were kind of familiar with last year has changed, and we have what's known as a Delta variant. It's much more contagious. It spreads quicker, and we're seeing that with our numbers increasing. You know, we were coming out of May and early June. We were averaging like 1 case a day in Peoria. Today, we had 44 new cases in 1 day. So it's starting to uptake, and it's making a lot of us nervous.
Okay, and so where did this come from for the people? There's a lot of people that were skeptical about COVID-19 in the first place, and now it's like, now it's a new one. Like where does this stuff come from?
So I think the first thing to understand is when we talk about COVID-19 or coronavirus, right? That's a type of our family of viruses, and any virus can mutate, which means changes. And the best way it mutates is when it's in a different host. So every time someone gets sick, they have the opportunity to change that virus. We see it with influenza as well. What we're seeing right now, this Delta variant is, again, coming down the chain. It's mutated a few times. Viruses are smart. They're able to adapt. That's what makes them so challenging. And what we're seeing now is one that's much more transmissible, which means, with the alpha, the earlier ones that we saw, last year, when one person was getting ill, on average, they would affect maybe 3 people. Now with the Delta version of this, you're getting one person sick and they're actually being able to spread it to 7 people. So it spreads a lot faster.
Wait. Back up. How does that happen? So one person isn't getting one person sick now, one person is getting 7 people sick?
Yeah, so before Alpha, it was about for every one person that got it, they were able to transmit it to 3 people. Now it's when they get it, it's up to 7 people.
So does that mean that a virus loses its potency? Like I would think that if I got COVID, that I would be able to transmit it to 20 people if I ran into 20 people while I had it. Is that not the case?
It really depends on just kind of how viruses naturally change and also our habits as people. If you live in like an urban center where people live very closely together, you can see viruses go from 1 to 30 people. Think of like, we had lots of concerns in what we call congregate setting or refugee camps around the world, right? You can spread things really quickly because quarters are really close. But what we see on average, just based on, our global standpoint, is about one person that has Delta can spread it to 7. And again, it's much more transmissible, meaning it can just go from people to people quickly.
So with that being said, of course, what follows all COVID talk and Delta talk are vaccinations. Now, the last summer, as I mentioned before off air, it seemed like we had the summer. We thought we were COVID free, and then the fall slammed us. And then we just had a decent summer, as you mentioned, like what, June or May only had like one person per week or something like that, or per day. And now it's looking like it could turn into what last fall turned into. What are we anticipating, or what are you anticipating as we head into the fall? And how much are the COVID vaccines that have been gotten over the last 3-4 months, how much can we anticipate that mitigating the effects that we have this fall?
So first and foremost, the vaccines work, even with the Delta variant. So what the vaccines do is they target a specific way that the virus binds in the body. So the good news is that the vaccines work on the Delta variant. It still hits that same binding point. Now, what we are all nervous about is, Peoria County, for example, we're only at 48% of our population vaccinated. And so a lot of the concern is that you have now a variant that is winning the race, so to speak. It's the fastest spreading virus that we have right now in terms of COVID. And we have a population that's not fully vaccinated. Some by choice, others they can't. Children can't get vaccinated yet. And we're also entering a time of year where weather changes, people start to go indoors, right? And schools start. So it creates this perfect storm for things to spread. So take COVID out of this. Every year, back to school time and this time of year, we saw respiratory viruses increase, which is what coronavirus is. It's a type of respiratory virus. And so we see that continue that same pattern. But what makes it scary, of course, is that this is still a novel virus. We have ways to treat it, but the long-term impacts of it are still unknown. We have people that got sick last year. They're still feeling the effects of it. And that's what's really, really scary about this virus.
So the average person that has trepidation on getting this vaccine in general would look at it and say, okay, you're saying this works on the Delta variant, but now they're talking about booster shots. If I already got the shot 3-4 months ago, why do I need to take another booster shot for this if this is apparently working for the Delta and the Lambda variants?
So first and foremost, I kind of understand how vaccines work, right? So vaccines are a way that lets your body create its own antibodies or fighting. It helps you fight off the virus. But over time, that decreases just naturally through your body. So really what the booster does, it kind of reminds your body again, hey, do you remember that virus that we taught you how to fight? Here you go. Here's another code book again. Let's build up those antibodies, especially as we're about to hit this season. So what we saw with our vaccine is that, and first of all, true heroes in this pandemic are the people that volunteer to be in those vaccine trials. They've been doing like annual, daily, like being just followed forever. And what they're seeing from there is there's a natural starting to decrease. So with the booster, it's to try to up that ante back up to make sure. Now, a lot of this, though, really hinges on the fact that we have to get as many people as possible vaccinated. That's the key to this. A lot of people tell me, hey, I already had the coronavirus. I don't need to get the vaccine. But in fact, you got antibodies to that specific virus, right? The vaccine gives you a stronger response to a larger variety. So in essence, by getting the vaccine, you're actually getting a stronger immune response. So that's what's really important. And I always want to just note, vaccines are not supposed to make you never get sick. I wish it was the case. But vaccines are supposed to prevent the two big things. One, dying from this virus. What we're seeing in our deaths are people that are unvaccinated. And two, that you're not getting severely ill, that you get complications. So what we're seeing from our hospitalizations, it's not vaccinated individuals. It's that's what we're seeing, is that these people are unvaccinated and they're the ones that are in the hospital, on the ventilators, in the ICU. So the vaccines do work. They give you either a very, very minimum illness or none at all.
And you brought out a good point, and I want to get to audience questions in just a second, but you mentioned that the COVID vaccine isn't necessarily to treat COVID. It's actually just to give you a stronger immune system to treat not only just COVID-19 or in the different variants, but overall a healthier immune system. Is that right?
Exactly. I mean, it's really targeted for COVID, but it really is your way of your body, really trying to fight off that virus and when it comes in contact with you. So I think that's really important. That's how all of our vaccine systems work is, our bodies have, I like to call them, very smart memory ninja skills. They remember things and then they fight it, right? So what vaccines do is, especially the coronavirus vaccine or the COVID-19 vaccines, what they do is they give you kind of an understanding of what you're fighting. You respond to it, and then you get your second dose, right? You usually get a little bit more of a severe response to that, an immune response. Nothing that takes you to the hospital. It's mostly that you don't feel good for a few hours, maybe like 24 hours, and then you're fine. That happened to me. But really, it just triggers your body so that when it does see it again naturally throughout the community, your body's already primed, say like, hey, I remember that and I'm supposed to fight it. And so it attacks. And so that's the great part about how vaccines work.
And this came from someone, but from anybody else thinking the same thing. What does novel virus mean?
So novel virus is a way to say a new virus that we haven't been exposed to. We don't have a response to it. I always my first job in public health was H1N1 in 2009, 2010. You might remember that as well, where we had this new strain of the virus, but it wasn't brand new. It wasn't novel because, in fact, that very type of influenza had circulated a while back. So I don't know if you remember, but the first group of people that we wanted vaccinated were pregnant individuals and children because they had not been exposed to it, while older adults had in their history been exposed to it already. So they had some built-in response to it. So when we say novel, we say that our population hasn't been exposed to this strain of a virus. And that's what we saw with COVID-19.
Okay. And Virgil says, what about the long-term effects of the vaccine?
So I think the thing to recognize about vaccines, the long-term effect of a vaccine is it gives you antibodies. It helps your body build antibodies. The vaccines themselves actually deteriorate in your body very quickly. And so there's no lasting impacts of the vaccine in your body. What it does is it creates, especially what you may hear of mRNA or messenger RNA, it creates a blueprint. And then your body builds that blueprint. Your vaccine disappears. And you have the blueprint, and all of a sudden that makes the protein that we keep talking about that binds to, and it attacks. So really, the vaccine doesn't stay in your body for long term. Now, what does have long-term effects is COVID itself. We're seeing people that still don't have their sense of taste or smell back. They have what's known as foggy brain. They can't focus. They can't really stay awake even. They have very, very high levels of fatigue. They're just tired all the time. And this is not just for older adults. We're seeing it even in our younger children now. They're just, these things can last, 3 to 5 months. I mean, we call them the long haulers. And it's really a scary thing to think about that response has stayed in their body for such a long time, even after they don't have COVID anymore.
Okay. And Jeremy says, do you see an end to COVID in the near future?
I really hope so, Jeremy. I really do. It's going to be a challenge because for it to actually have an end, it's a kind of a fine balance. I don't think it's going to disappear from the community or from the globe. And I think you're going to see it become something that we have to receive what we call like a natural relationship with. Like we know it exists, but we have a vaccine and we have treatment. But to get to that point where we can call it what we call endemic, that's just like naturally occurring, we have to have a high level of vaccination in our community to control how fast it spreads. And it has to be done at a global stage. And I think that's really important to your question, right? You first had what's Delta? Do I get a Lambda? And I think you went through all the Greek philanthropy almost, right? Like all the Greek houses.
Or what? What is it?
Yeah. Is that this is a global pandemic. When we first saw Delta, it was actually in Asia and India. We've heard, we stopped calling it by the countries where it appears. There's a Lambda strain that's coming that came through from South America. This is a global issue. We won't really get ahead of this until globally we all get ahead of it. And that's a long fight ahead of us.
Jennifer says, when do they expect a vaccine for children under 12?
Right now we're hearing September and October. And Jennifer, I can tell you that I am fully invested in this. I am a mom to 2 young kids. Both of my daughters are actually under the age of 12. So I check that on a daily basis because I'm super excited. And that's one thing I want to share for parents is that, we've heard people say, well, I don't know about this virus. What does it do with the reproductive system? Will my kids have fertility issues? All that, right? I can send you all that data. I can refer you to the CDC. You can read all that literature review. But at the end of the day, I'll just share with my own story, which is I cannot wait for my daughters to get the vaccine.
And another question, and I'll bring this one in, last question for our audience, but Jeremy says, if you had COVID already, how long are you immune from the new virus, if at all?
So, it really depends on just how you responded to your COVID. Were you given any type of treatment plan? So we really recommend that people, especially if you had any monoclonal antibody treatment, that you wait 90 days to get your first COVID vaccine. But first and foremost, if you had the virus, you do have some natural antibodies in your system, but it's not going to be strong as the actual vaccine. So even if you already had COVID-19, we highly recommend that you go ahead and get the vaccine itself.
And so for people that are vaccinated, masking, do we still need to wear masks? Is it absurd to think that we shouldn't shut down again? Do you anticipate another shutdown? And then I want to ask you about schools after that, but first on that.
So, this is such a hard question because we know the vaccines work and they're highly effective, but we're also learning the fact that with these different variants, people that are vaccinated can still transmit. I might not get sick, but it doesn't mean that I can't still have the ability to transmit to another individual. And so until we have enough people vaccinated, those of us that took the call, got ourselves vaccinated, not only for our health, but our full community, we really should be masking, especially when we have such high transmission in our community. Now, if you go to places where the transmission is very low, then the CDC recommends that you don't have to mask. But Peoria County, sadly, we are in that high transmission rate, so we should be masking indoors. And I completely understand the frustration. It's really interesting because people that got vaccinated, they were like, we're going to do it. Like, let's all go. This is so exciting. And now I get calls like, Monica, I did it, but why am I placed in this situation? It's extending this pandemic longer than it needs to be. And sadly, it's because we need more people to have gotten vaccinated.
So we're going back to school. Well, we're back to school. It's in person. We're relying on kids to keep their masks on. These students haven't been vaccinated for the large part. From your perspective, did we do the right thing? Is it too early to go back into in-person learning? Are we fine? Should they be wearing masks since they're under 12 and they're talking about the transmission rates are different? What's going on with the schools?
So I think, and this is a really, again, it's hard because we have to realize that our kids are in a congregate setting when they're in school, and you have some students that are eligible for the vaccine, some that are not, like your elementary school, nobody has a vaccine in that age range, right? And then you have some school districts where there's a high vaccination rate and others that there are very low. But we also have to recognize that kids don't stay in their school setting. They play sports with a different school. They travel to camps. They are in different dance groups and what have you, right? So it's not that they live and breathe only in their school district. So when you talk about this masking policy, especially this masking mandate that has come out from the governor's office, it really is based on the fact that we have a higher, much more transmissible variant, Delta, right? It seems to be hitting kids a lot more so. You're seeing what we're seeing in Texas and in Florida, in South Carolina, North Carolina, and Tennessee. It's the children ICUs that are getting filled up now, right? And you're coming back to school, right? It becomes a perfect storm. And so the mandate right now is let's get ahead of this, because I always like to equate the vaccine is that I think you said somebody had a question about when do under 12 gets the vaccine. You also want to make the environment primed so that when a younger population gets or is eligible, the vaccine can actually have a fighting chance, right? So think of like you have a clear cup of water, right? And you're pouring some, like red dye and yellow dye into this cup of water, right? It turns orange. What you're trying to do, though, is you're trying to get more of it to be yellow quicker. That's your goal, right? And if you keep pouring red in or getting more and more cases, when you eventually are able to get more and more people vaccinated, right? There's so much red in it that it's never going to get to a point where that vaccine has a strong enough hold. And so part of what you're trying to do with the the masking mandates, as well as, if you do any type of shutdowns, if the cases go too severe, is you're trying to prime it so that your cases decrease enough that the vaccinated individuals and their ability to create that kind of armor can get a better foothold. But what we're seeing is there's not a lot of us that have the armor, less than half of our population, and the cases just keep growing. So it creates that perfect storm. And so when you have a situation like a school where you have a large population that doesn't have eligible vaccinations, you're trying to create an environment where you try to keep the cases as low as possible. And I think that's really important for our school districts.
And last question before we get to the lightning round, should we anticipate another shutdown?
I don't think so. And, a lot can change. We can see a crazy variant that comes through, but the reason why I say not so much is because we've learned a lot. I always say what I know today is 100 times more than I knew this time last year. Every day I learn more. And that's how science works. And I think that's been a lot of people's frustration, right? In an age of like instantaneous answers, that's not how science works. We test a hypothesis, then we have to have another peer review it and try to get the same results, if something different, so we know that this is actually working, right? So every day we learn more about the virus, the vaccine. And so I think the reason why I say I don't think we're going to see any shutdowns is because we have the best tool that we could imagine right now, and that's vaccines. So we have vaccines, we have a treatment, we have an understanding of how to treat. It takes a team of people to treat people with severe COVID, but we know how to actually treat it. And then we also have PPE, supplies, information. And so all of those in hand, testing capabilities, it gives us a different dynamic than we saw last year. Now, having said that, a lot of things can change that can throw all this, what we learned from COVID. It can also throw everything out the window. And I think the biggest thing is, if we still get more and more transmission, we have more opportunities for things to mutate. So you get more variants in the mix. So that's always concerning. But also, if we don't have enough people step up and get vaccinated, then I think it was Jeremy's question, this is going to just keep running its course. And so, right now we're in a situation where if everyone does their part, we can try to get ahead of it. And maybe we don't see any changes or any shutdowns like we did last year. That's fingers crossed always.
Okay, that's what it is. Okay, so we talked about it before you jumped on. Lightning round. You ready?
Sure.
All right, let's go. I'm going to give you 1:50, and we're going to see what we can get done. Okay. Boom. Have you ever been stung by a bee?
Yes.
What thing or activity do you spend too much money on?
Rock climbing.
Who was the last music artist you listened to?
Beyonce.
Favorite board game?
Rummy Cube.
Okay, Netflix or Hulu?
Netflix.
Favorite athlete of all time?
Steffi Graf.
What sport do you watch the most?
Tennis.
Favorite vacation spot?
The mountains.
Is your toothbrush manual or automatic?
Manual.
Okay, last book you read?
Oh, that's a good question. If you give a mouse a cookie, because I was trying to figure out what I read last night to my kid. If you give a mouse a cookie, I want a glass of milk.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Favorite X-Men character?
Favorite which character?
X-Men character.
Wolverine.
Okay. Favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving.
Baths or showers?
Showers.
East Coast or West Coast?
East Coast.
Apple or Android?
Android.
Do grits take salt or sugar?
Do what?
Do grits take salt or sugar?
Assault.
And do I need a haircut?
I don't know. I think you're pulling it off. I like it. Keep it.
And you beat it by like 5 seconds. Whoa, where's my camera? You beat it. And nobody does that for real. Nobody does that.
Maybe there's like a Hall of Fame somewhere where my picture will be.
I might do a Hall of Fame for people that can beat the time. I just might do that. Monica Hendrickson, thank you so much for coming on to Rap Politics and discuss COVID-19, deltas, lambdas, and vaccines and everything else.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this experience.
Sure thing. All right, that was Monica Hendrickson, Peoria County Public Health Administrator. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Of course, Rap Politics is brought to you by Sherman's, where they carry the best furniture and mattresses and appliances, and they're also hiring. Sherman's is one of the few places left in town that doesn't care about your education. They just promote people that work hard, have a good attitude, and follow their core values. One of the few places that hard work gets recognized and gets you ahead. You can log on to shermanscareers.com to check out the openings and apply online. And also brought to you by Terry Shepard, a real estate consultant whose values are rooted in customer care and service. She can help you negotiate your next deal and get you into a home that fits. She's with Remax Traders Unlimited, and she can be reached at 309-361-4592. And I got to do a big shout out to Brandon Williams, aka Real Talk, for the shirt. Happily ever, not after, but during. And he talking about the relationships, man. Happily ever during. He got books available as well, too, man. You can go follow him. I think it's Real Talk Raps or it's Brandon Alexander on IG. One of them two. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll be back Monday with the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, Joshua Gunn. So y'all don't want to miss that either. In the meantime, y'all be cool.